Hi guys, so this is the cash flow analysis, the advanced worksheet for cash flow analysis. So we're going to do a monthly cash flow analysis, and we're going to map different expenses and their sub expenses and see how that works out. And you can, it'll help you to know if you have extra expenses or will you be running out of money in any month in a specific year. So this data set is for 2018, and I have just randomly put some values based on my expenditure. So as you can see, the first row here, it shows you the opening balance of 4 different months. So for now, let's just focus on the first value, which is 1500. It is the opening balance for Jan. You can also have it as 0, and you can start with 0. So let's just start. So first we will go to inflow. Inflow is the money that flows into your account. So if you work part-time, you get monthly student pages. So I've assumed that value to be 1500. Then if you get cash from your parents, or if you have a credit card, income from other sources, you can just put it in here, and the total will be shown here in the total inflow, and that will be the sum of these values. That is inflow. Now for outflow, you would have various expenses. As you can see, there are more sources of outflow than that of inflow. So for outflow, we start, I have taken 6 different categories, starting with home expenses. You have rent, electricity, cable, internet, mobile phone, credit card bills, and then their sum is here present, which is the sum of these categories included here. As you can see, for education, you have these categories, which also have like a subtotal. So each of these categories will have a subtotal, and based on the total value of these categories, you will have a total outflow, which will give you the sum of all of these. That is this, which is C18 plus 23 plus C27, C31, C35, C40, and C42. C42 here is other expenses. If you have any, you can just add it manually right here. So now you have the total inflow, which is 1600 in our case for Jan, and total outflow, which is 1790. So the closing balance is basically the opening balance for the month that is 1500 plus the total inflow, which is 1600, minus the total expenditure for Jan, and that will give you the closing balance for January. Now the closing balance for the previous month is the opening balance for the next month. So 13,310 becomes your opening balance for Feb, and this is how it will continue further on. As you can see right here, we have values throughout the year, and you have some cells that are red here. So this is basically, I have used conditional formatting to highlight the values in the cells. So if your value goes above 0, it's green. If it goes below 0, it's red. So how you do conditional formatting is, you select a cell, you go to conditional formatting, you add a new rule, and then you can add any sort of rule. Like suppose if you want these cells to be red, so go to format all cells based on these value, or so format only values that are above or below average. So above the average for the selected range or something like that. So using conditional formatting, you can do this. So if you see the existing rule for these cells, it is, if the cell value is less than 0, then it should be green. If the cell value, it should be red. If the cell value is less than 0, it should be red. So accordingly, we have done the conditional formatting. Same for the closing balance. So this conditional formatting is also repeated here, as you can see, and the value is displayed in negative because here the person would go into debt and he wouldn't have the money to sustain for the whole month. I have also added another extra feature into the sheet, that is the extra expenses. So these are expenses that one can actually control and reduce every month. Stuff like dining, takeout, shopping, and recreation, like movies and stuff. So this actually takes a total of these values from your sub expenses, that is your dining, shopping, your subscriptions, movies, vacation, stuff like that. So this is basically, so I have classified these as extra expenses. You could remove or add more for your subcategories into this, and this gives you a total here. So, and this is a message based on your expenses. So whenever you go into negative, it checks if your value, your extra expenses are more than a certain amount. If they are, it shows you a message that reduce extra expenses for a specific month. And if you are within the limits, and if your closing balance is still going green, you're going good, then it wouldn't show you a message because you're fine up till July in our case. But in August, you need to cut down on extra expenses. So if you cut down on extra expenses like shopping and dining, you can last till October. So that's how it is. This is the average inflow. That is the average of these values, C10 to N10. Let me scroll on top. Is the average inflow, and this is the average outflow, which is the average of these values. We've used the average formula, average of a range, to calculate this. These are the two graphs that we have generated using this data. The monthly closing balance basically plots your months against the closing balance. So your months against the closing balance, and the category wise monthly expense will basically give you the total amount spent on a specific category over the months. So as you can see an example over here, blue refers to home expenses, orange refers to education. So these subtotals are used to generate this graph against month and the total. That's it for the monthly cash flow analysis advanced version. Thank you.